My name is Alara Whitmore, 28 years old. When my mom told me we couldn't afford Christmas this year, she said it like a confession, her voice soft and cracked at the edges. We sat in my kitchen, the overhead light flickering faintly as if even the bulb was tired of holding things together. She reached for my hand across the table, her own trembling. Groceries are ridiculous. Rent hikes are killing me. Honey, I just can't do it this year. I hate it, but there won't be much for the kids. Her words felt heavy, but I nodded, forcing myself to swallow the disappointment before it surfaced. I understand, Mom, I said. And I meant it, or at least I wanted to. I knew life was expensive, suffocating. I knew we were all trying to keep afloat in waters that kept rising. She even let a few tears spill. It breaks my heart, she whispered, dabbing at her cheeks with the corner of a tissue. We'll still have breakfast, though, a nice one, all together, simple, just grateful for what we do have. I hugged her when she left, holding her a little tighter than usual, whispering, I'll bring cinnamon rolls. It was something small, but it was something. Christmas morning arrived quietly, without the glittering chaos that usually defined it. My daughter, Kay, 6 years old and still drenched in the wonder of childhood, bounced out of bed in her brand new pajamas. Well, new to her. I'd found them at the thrift shop, sparkly stars scattered across the fabric. She twirled in them, hair flying like a halo, before I handed her a small box. Inside was a snow globe, delicate, the kind you wind up and watch flakes fall over a tiny cottage. She gasped, clutching it to her chest. Mommy, it's beautiful. Tears stung my eyes. Do you really like it? I love it, she said, spinning it gently to watch the snow swirl. For a moment, I believed her joy could be enough, that this tiny, fragile globe could hold back the weight pressing in from every side. We sat together, toast crumbs on our plates, cocoa cooling in our mugs. I thought maybe gratitude could be enough. And then I made the mistake of opening Facebook. The autoplay hit me before I could stop it. Laughter, sharp and shrill, exploded through the speaker. The roar of a fire, children's screams of delight. My thumb hovered over the screen, but my eyes locked in place. It was my mom's living room, not mine, hers. The same living room she had stood in weeks earlier, crying about how she couldn't make Christmas happen. Except now it was glowing. A tree nearly touching the ceiling, dripping with ornaments. Stockings hung neatly over a roaring fireplace. And gifts, piles of them. Dozens, maybe hundreds, flooding the carpet like a department store ad come to life. Boxes ripped open, paper flying, brand names flashing across the screen. Lego, Beats, Nike, Apple. And then my nephew squealing as he tore open a PlayStation 5. In the corner, holding her phone at the perfect angle to capture it all, was my mother, laughing, beaming, recording like it was the happiest morning of her life. The bite of toast in my mouth turned to ash. Beside me, Kay stilled. She leaned closer, her wide eyes locked on the screen. She didn't speak right away, and that silence, the way her tiny body froze, hurt worse than any words could. Finally, she whispered, almost too soft to hear, Mom, why didn't Santa come to us? My heart stopped. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck. My throat burned with unshed tears. My fingers moved instead, scrolling, snapping screenshots, the video, the mountain of gifts, and then my banking app. December 3rd, $2,400, transferred to my mom. The memo line, mortgage, love you. I stared at it until my vision blurred. Then I opened Facebook again. Posted 2 screenshots side by side, one of the money I had sent, the other of their extravagant Christmas morning. Above them, I typed a single word, canceled. I turned off my phone and pushed it away, but silence didn't last long. At exactly 8:45 a.m., pounding rattled my front door, not knocking, pounding, fists hammering like they meant to break the wood. When I opened it, there she was, my mom. Hair wild, slippers half falling off, her coat flapping open like she'd run across town without fastening it. She pushed her way in before I could speak. How dare you, she shouted, her face flushed crimson. How dare you put private family business on Facebook? You don't understand. Lindsay's kids needed this. They've been through so much. You're making me look like a liar. You're being petty, selfish. Her words blurred into one long, furious roar. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. Kay peeked from the hallway, clutching her snow globe like a shield, her eyes wide with fear. I waited. Let her yell. Let her rage burn itself out. And when her voice finally faltered, I asked the only question that mattered. Did you use the mortgage money I sent for their Christmas? The air went still. She looked at the floor, then at Kay, then back at me. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. Instead, she muttered, I had to even things out. They'd have been crushed without it. Her words hung in the air, poisonous. I felt something inside me shift, snap clean in two. Leave, I said. For a second, she looked like she might argue, but something in my face must have stopped her. She turned, muttering under her breath, and slammed the door behind her. Silence. Except the silence wasn't relief. It was heavy, jagged. Kay stood in the hallway, tiny fingers white-knuckled around the snow globe. I crouched, brushed her hair back, and whispered, It's okay, sweetheart. She didn't answer. That night, after she'd fallen asleep, I sat in the living room. The only light came from the tree, blinking softly in the corner. My phone lay on the table, dark and cold. No messages from my mom, none from Lindsay. But my rage hadn't burned out. It simmered. Because this wasn't the first time. It was only the clearest. The proof I couldn't ignore. And in that silence, I made a decision. If they wanted me out of their little fairy tale, they'd get their wish. Not all at once. Slowly, deliberately. I would cut them off piece by piece, and they would feel it. That Facebook post was the only explanation they'd ever get. The silence that followed would tell me everything I needed to know. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The days after Christmas were so quiet it felt like someone had draped a heavy blanket over the house. Not peace. Peace has a softness to it. This was weighted, deliberate, the kind of silence you get when people are busy composing a different version of events and need you to stay still for the rewrite. I waited for my mom to call and explain. I waited for Lindsay to message and pretend she didn't know, to hand me a little apology wrapped in excuses. Nothing. Just a clean, practiced hush. It told me more than their words ever had. So I started where it would be felt immediately. The phone plan. My mother, my father, and Lindsay's oldest were all riding on my account, 3 quiet siphons no one ever acknowledged. I logged in and clicked cancel on each line, one by one, the way you pull threads from a sweater until the sleeve starts to give. That evening, a text came from Lindsay's number. Our phones just stopped working. Is there an outage? I let the screen dim in my hand and didn't respond. Next, Costco. Years back, when Dad retired and money got tight, I added them to my membership. It became our unspoken agreement. I would handle the bulk runs, and in return, they would forget to say thank you. I removed every auxiliary card and shut their access down. A few days later, Dad left a voicemail, bewildered and mildly offended. Hey, kiddo. Tried to pick up a few things, and the card didn't work. Maybe a mistake? The way he said mistake, like an administrative hiccup, made me pause the message halfway through. There was no mistake. There was a decision. January's mortgage auto pay still ran, and I watched the confirmation hit my account with a kind of clinical curiosity. Would they acknowledge it? Would a single text arrive? It didn't. The money disappeared cleanly, as if it had been expected. Routine. Like I was a utility and not a person. The quiet bled into February. That's when I made another cut. For 2 years, Mom sent me a weekly grocery list on Sundays. Milk, eggs, berries when they were on sale, laundry soap. The little things that keep a house from fraying. I'd push it through Instacart and she'd send a heart emoji. The first Sunday of February, no list arrived. Neither did the second. On the third, a message popped up that tried to sound casual. Hey, sweetie, just checking in. Things have been a little rough lately. If you happen to have anything extra for food this week, we'd really appreciate it. I stared at it long enough to see my own reflection in the glass. Then I typed, Kay says hi. 3 dots, then nothing. Uncle Tony reached out next. We're throwing Lindsay a birthday dinner. Could you chip in? Family thing. I sent back a screenshot from her Christmas video, her kid holding a Gucci box bigger than his torso, and put my phone face down. He left me on red. Mid-month, Lindsay tried a different tone. First, Mom said you've been acting weird. You okay? Then, look, I know you're upset, but this has gotten out of hand. The kids miss Kay. I miss her. Let's talk. Her voice memo arrived that night, her breath smoothed, words softened, like she'd practiced in the mirror. I just don't want this to spiral. Family is family. We should rise above the drama. I blocked her. It felt like closing a window on a draft. The air in the room stabilized. Mom texted about her car next. A weird noise. Could I help with repairs? I left her on red. It took 3 hours for my dad to call, and against my better judgment, I answered. He started careful, hands up, don't shoot calm. I'd like to drop by, talk things through, no yelling. No, I said. A beat of silence. Then the edge in his voice surfaced, thin and sharp. So you're just going to let the house go? Just like that? Yes. Another silence. I hung up first. 3 days later, Lindsay posted a story. Cutting people off doesn't make you heartless, it makes you honest. White text, black background, the favorite format of saints and villains alike. I didn't laugh, but something inside me did finally relax. They were building their alibi. By March, the quiet changed temperature again. No calls, no invites, no chain messages with roses and "Good morning, beautiful soul," just absence. I knew that rhythm too well to be fooled by it. This wasn't retreat. This was a plank walk paced to a drumbeat only they could hear. They were waiting for me to cave, to reach for the rope out of habit. I kept my hands by my sides. And then Easter arrived with a sweetness I thought I had earned. We set up plastic eggs in the patchy grass and painted a few on the porch. The spring air smelled like wet soil and acrylics. Kay hummed, concentrating, her tongue between her teeth as she brushed a blue stripe around the egg's middle. When her iPad pinged, I almost ignored it. Her contacts are locked. Me, her teacher, 2 cousins. I meant to glance and look away. The preview said, "From Grandma, a video." It opened on Lindsay's kids holding baskets the size of their torsos, crammed with branded toys and gift cards. My mom's voice came from behind the camera, amplified by something brittle and triumphant. "You better thank the Easter Bunny. This is what love looks like." One of the twins asked, half out of frame, "Are we going to see Kay?" My mother answered, crisp and clean as a knife, "No, not this year. Her mommy's being difficult again." Kay didn't make a sound. She placed her brush carefully in the jar and walked inside, closing her door with the seriousness only small children and grieving adults manage. I stood there an extra minute, holding a lemon-yellow egg that would never dry. That night I opened my laptop, logged into the mortgage portal, and found the recurring payment. It took exactly 3 clicks to end it. No warning email, no flurry of texts from my side, no explanation they could pounce on and twist. Let them feel the ground when it slid away. The locksmith came the next morning. He installed new deadbolts on the front and back doors and a reinforced latch I hadn't known existed. "I'm sorry you need this," he said without looking at me. I made tea I didn't drink and set the extra keys in a dish by the sink. It's a small thing, closing a door. It's also everything. I started paying attention in a colder, more strategic way. I moved school communications to a new email and removed every emergency contact who wasn't me or Kay's godmother. I turned off location sharing friends and family had come to expect as their right. I checked the windows at midnight like I was counting breaths. That's when the slant of it changed for me. This wasn't about the dollars. It had never really been about the dollars. Money had been the leash. Control was the hand holding it. When I cut the leash, they followed with a tighter grip. I could feel them tightening now, regrouping. They took their next shot with the thing they cherished most, their audience. 2 days after Easter, Lindsay posted a carousel. Her kids in pastel outfits, baskets overflowing, my mother posed behind them with a grin that looked like a performance review. The caption read, "Some people should stop being bitter and learn to be happy for others," a directing note to the crowd. The comments chimed. "Preach. Family first. Don't let haters win." It would have stung a month ago. Now it simply confirmed the direction of the wind. I kept our days steady and small. Kay's art class, smoothies on Wednesdays, a new routine where I let her pick the playlist in the car. She told me about a girl who wouldn't share her glitter glue and a bird she was painting with feathers like a crown. I let those details stitch the days together. Quiet, clean seams. At night, I walked the hallway without turning on lights and listened to her breathing become the metronome of a home. Silence is never empty in a family like mine. It is a tool. It sharpens. By the end of March, I could feel it gleam. I set out the guardrails anyway. When the next blow came, I wanted to be ready enough not to flinch. It came in April. though I didn't know it that morning when I found the white envelope in my mailbox. No return address. My name written in a hand that imitated shakiness, the way actors play drunk by moving too slowly. I carried it inside and laid it on the counter like it was already part of the evidence. But that is a story for the next turn of the knife, the one where quiet gets a voice and the voice learns to lie more efficiently. For now, I think of Kay in the kitchen that night, sitting on the counter, swinging her feet while I tried to bake cookies and failed to time the trays. "The middle is gooey," she said around a grin dusted with sugar. "That's the best part," I told her, and meant it. We ate the messy ones first. We saved the neat ones for later that never came. Some breaks are loud. Mine wasn't. It was the sound a key makes when it slides into a brand new lock and turns without catching. It was a house inventing a safer version of itself, quietly, door by door. April didn't arrive with flowers. It arrived with paper cuts. The envelope sat in my mailbox like it had been waiting all night, just to be the first thing I touched that morning. Plain white, no return address, my name written in a shaky cursive that looked like my mother had tried too hard to appear frail. Inside were unbound pages, printer ink already smudging at the corners. It was a draft will. The words seemed to blur as I read them. "We, being of sound mind, leave our home, our belongings, and all financial assets to our daughter Lindsay, who has remained faithful and supportive through our final years. No inheritance is to be given to our daughter Ilara, who has chosen to separate herself from this family." Taped to the front page was a yellow post-it note. 4 words, sharp and smug in my mother's unmistakable script. "You made your choice." I held the papers for a long time, longer than they deserved. Not because I cared about the house or the possessions. God knows I'd funded half of them already. But because of what it meant. They weren't just punishing me. They were erasing me. I folded the will, slid it into a drawer, and poured myself a glass of wine at 10 in the morning. That burn in my throat felt cleaner than anything else in the room. 2 days later, the ripple began. Emails trickled in from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Old coworkers, college friends, even a neighbor from when Kay was still in preschool. "Hey, just checking in. Your mom mentioned you've been going through a rough patch. Hope you're okay. Heard from your sister. She said you've been acting different. If you need to talk, I'm here." I could see the story spreading like ink in water, slow at first, then staining everything. They weren't calling me unstable outright. Not yet. They were planting seeds. By the time the gossip ripened, I'd be the daughter who fell apart, the mother who couldn't cope. Then came the flyer. Kay stuffed it into her backpack after art class, folded 3 times like she hadn't wanted me to see it. At first glance, it was nothing. An announcement for a church food drive. But taped to the top was another sticky note. "God doesn't turn his back on family. Maybe you shouldn't either." I called the community center listed on the flyer. The receptionist hesitated before admitting there had already been complaints. A woman had been seen in the parking lot 3 afternoons in a row, standing by the fence, watching the kids. When staff approached, she claimed she was waiting for her granddaughter. They were reviewing security footage. I didn't need to see it. I knew who it was. That night, a message popped up on Facebook from a brand new account. No profile picture, no posts. The name was Family First. "Your daughter doesn't deserve to grow up like this. She deserves us. You'll regret this when she's older." I didn't block it, not yet. Instead, I waited. Over the next 3 days, the account dripped messages into my inbox. Old family photos, screenshots of Kay's birthday parties from years ago, even short clips of my parents' living room decorated for holidays. Then came a video, my mom holding an Easter basket, her voice syrupy and deliberate. "We love you, Kay. We're still here." The last message was just sound, heavy breathing, gravel crunching underfoot. They wanted me rattled. They wanted me desperate enough to come running back just to make it stop. Instead, I opened a blank Google Doc. I started typing. Dates, times, screenshots, printouts of every message. I photographed the flyer, the sticky notes, even the envelope with the fake will. Piece by piece, I was building something they couldn't rewrite. Still, the air in my house felt charged, like static before a lightning strike. That's when I called my cousin Tara. She'd always kept her distance from the rest of them. Called my mom stage 5 manipulative, long before I'd admitted it myself. I told her everything. She didn't even sound surprised. But she told me something that made my stomach drop. "Lindsay told a friend of mine you lost everything," Tara said flatly. that you're having a breakdown, that Kay isn't even in school anymore. She said CPS might get involved, that the family is ready to step in if needed. I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles went white. They weren't just smearing me, they were building a case. Also, Tara added, my friend's a paralegal. She's seen the draft will. If they actually mailed that to you, knowing it's not valid, that's not just manipulation, that's fraud. That's traceable. The word fraud rang in my ears like a church bell. For months, I'd been the one reacting. Now, for the first time, I had leverage. The next morning, I made an appointment with a family lawyer. I walked into his office with a binder stuffed with evidence, screenshots, burner messages, photos of the flyer, even the yellow post-it that had gutted me. He flipped through each page with calm precision. Then he looked up, eyes steady. Have they contacted your daughter directly? Yes, I said. Videos, messages, a gift bag at her school, even drafts saved in her old tablet. He didn't hesitate. You'll want a restraining order, not just against them contacting you, against any attempt to contact her. And if they escalate, we escalate legally. For the first time in months, I walked out of an office feeling lighter. Not safe, but steadier. A week later, the papers were filed. I didn't announce it. I didn't send a warning text. I let the court serve them. That evening, my voicemail light blinked. 2 minutes long. My mother's voice cracked and weepy, words spilling out like a dam giving way. You're twisting everything, punishing us for loving Kay too much. We only wanted her to know we're still here. You're poisoning her against us. Then she said something that froze me in place. She asked about us, Alara. She misses us. She said she doesn't understand why you're doing this. Except she hadn't. Not once. Kay hadn't said a single word about missing them. She had been sleeping better, laughing louder, sketching superheroes with sparkly markers. She talked about glitter glue wars with friends and the crown-feathered bird she painted in class. Not once had she said their names. They were lying, using my daughter's voice as a weapon. That night, I sat across from Kay at the dinner table. Her cheeks were smudged with sauce, her hair escaping its braid. I asked lightly, "Do you ever miss Christmas at Grandma's?" She shrugged. It was loud, and they didn't like my doll. That was it. No heartbreak, no confusion, just fact. I kissed the top of her head, tasting tomato sauce and resolve. I blocked every number I hadn't already. I shut down my old Facebook account and opened a new one under a shortened version of my name. No photos, no trail to follow. At Kay's school, I filed paperwork to alter her last name slightly, enough to keep her off their radar if they got creative. I was done reacting. Now I was protecting. And I knew the war wasn't over. It was only changing shape. By May, the silence had teeth. I could feel it biting at the edges of every day, waiting for the moment I slipped. But I had learned. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was watching, waiting, recording. Then, on a Monday morning, the storm hit again. Kay was singing to herself in her pajamas, spinning around the living room with her stuffed rabbit while I packed her lunch. Cartoons chirped in the background. Ordinary. Safe. Until my phone buzzed. Blocked number. Declined. Buzz. Declined again. 6 times in less than 30 minutes. The kind of persistence that doesn't belong to telemarketers. Then a text slipped through, bypassing my blocks with a third-party app. The sender name made my chest tighten. Lindsay. She's going to hate you when she's older. We would have given her everything. You took that away. I set the phone down like it was hot iron and went back to pouring Kay's juice. My hands didn't shake. But later that day, the school called. The secretary's voice was taut, professional, but I could hear the unease underneath. Hi, Ms. Whitmore. Someone came in asking to pick up Kay. She said she was your mother, claimed there was an emergency. We asked for ID, but she said it was in the car and left. My breath stalled. They checked the cameras. Baseball cap, sunglasses, the build, the walk. I didn't need confirmation. It was her. My mother had tried to take my child. That same hour, I called my lawyer, then the police. Words like custodial interference and violation of the restraining order went into official files. I turned over every burner message, every screenshot, every voicemail. For the first time, I wasn't just holding my evidence. I was arming someone else with it. That was the last time they tried in person. But they weren't finished. The next discovery came by accident. Kaye's old drawing tablet, shoved into a drawer and long forgotten. She asked me to fix the screen settings, and when I opened it, drafts filled the Notes app. Not doodles. Messages. Hi, sweetheart. We miss you so much. Santa kept your presents here. Don't worry. Mommy doesn't let us talk to you, but we still love you. You can write back anytime. It'll be our little secret. They hadn't sent them, just saved them, waiting for her to stumble across them one day. Worse, the files synced to the cloud. Photos of her bedroom from years ago, voice recordings of my mom's syrupy voice, whispering love bombs, family holiday pictures uploaded like bait. I turned to Kay, my heart in my throat. Did you see these? She nodded, her little shoulders tense. I didn't tell you. I didn't want you to feel bad. My daughter, 6 years old, was protecting me. That broke me in a way nothing else had. That night, I wiped the tablet clean, boxed it up, and bought her a new one with layers of locks and firewalls. I changed every password, every account. I sat her down, keeping my voice calm. Sometimes people, even people who say they love us, don't make safe choices. It's not your fault. We're not mad. We're just done. She studied me, big eyes round. So, they're not coming back? I swallowed. No, not anymore. She smiled. Can we bake cookies this weekend? Yes, baby, we can. Later that night, another burner message appeared. A username that was just numbers. The text. She'll never forgive you. I typed one word back. Enough. Then I blocked it, deleted the app, and handed the evidence straight to my lawyer. It felt final, like closing a vault. But the truth is, people like them never disappear quietly. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. My name was spelled just slightly wrong, return address, a P.O. box in Arizona. Inside was a single printed photo. Me, standing in my driveway. Taken from the street, through a car window. No note, no name, just the photo. I sent it to my lawyer. He forwarded it to the police. A detective called days later. The P.O. box was opened with a fake ID, but security footage shows a woman matching your sister's description. We're still confirming. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I stood at the window, watching Kay chase bubbles in the yard, and let the weight of it settle. They had shifted from manipulation to stalking, and now the law was watching them. Tara called that night. You've done everything right. They're the ones making mistakes now. But listen to me. People like them don't just let go. They'll try again. I believed her, but this time I wasn't afraid. Because I was ready. I fortified the walls, changed Kay's school contacts again, installed cameras inside and out, every lock triple checked. I wasn't just a daughter anymore, or a sister, or the family's bank account. I was a guardian. 4 months passed. No more calls, no more doorstep ambushes, no more poison sticky notes tucked into flyers. They still whispered. A coworker told me my mom claimed I was emotionally abusive, that they were praying for Kay to be rescued. But the whispers never made it past the walls I'd built. Inside our home, life was smaller, cleaner. Kay laughed louder now, filling silence with music instead of fear. She drew comics where she was a superhero with laser eyes and a psychic puppy who ate bad guys. Sometimes, when she was half asleep, she'd whisper, "I'm glad it's just us." Me too. They thought my giving made me weak, that my sacrifices were proof I could be controlled, erased, rewritten. They didn't understand that the moment I stopped giving, I became unstoppable. I locked every door behind me, and this time I kept the keys. No more. And I meant it.